Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to be covering some of the top password managers out there for people. I made this video because it took me a while to figure out which password manager I wanted to use, and I've been using one particular, and you'll find out in the videos, for at least 2 years now. So I was in the process of switching, so I did a big analysis, and I just figured it would be nice to share because sometimes there's a little bit of confusion. I did some looking on YouTube and on these individual sites, and there's a lot of things that are not clear. This video is just going to cover the features that I personally believe that 80 to 90% of the people will use. All of these software packages or the password managers have their own unique features that some of the other ones don't have. But I'm not going to cover those kind of features because they're really kind of a niche thing, and maybe 10 to 20% of their clients would use some of those features. Like I know one of them provides like a way to make fake emails addresses so that you can use those instead of your real ones. And I personally would not use that kind of service because what happens is nobody else has it, so you're kind of locked in with them, and you can't transfer that over if you decide to go with a competitor software later. But it's just one in many, so we're just going to be covering just the basics on all these and what the most people covered. Now, when you look through the video and you're looking at the chapters, you'll notice that 1Password's not in there. I put it on here because I did try to use 1Password. My problem that I ran into was when I tried to go sign up to get the trial, they require a credit card. I don't like giving my credit card out just for giggles. If they ask for a PayPal account or something like that, I would have given it to them. At least it protects my credit card. They don't get it. But I'm not going to give a company my credit card information when I don't even know if I want their software. And they give you a 14-day trial, and they're supposed to remind you 7 days prior that to whether to cancel or they're going to be renewing it. I don't personally like those kind of business practices. And I go through and I mention which ones business practices I kind of question. They're not necessarily bad per se, but I would just kind of put a question mark on it. Like, really, your intent is to deceive and get the customer in. I get that you're providing a product, but just be straight up with the stuff. Like 1Password, not only did they want a credit card, but I realized that if you go straight to their website, they give you one price. But if you find a way to get through, like if you do Google searches and stuff and you find alternative links, you can get different prices depending on which link you click, which reminds me of CCleaner, which I hate. I mean, I like CCleaner for certain things, and I will say, yes, I do pay for it, but it's like an annual ritual. I feel like it's worse than the cable companies. I literally have to spend an hour or two looking for every single link for CCleaner just to find the one with the biggest discount. It's not one price fits all. And I personally, I hate it. It's like an annual, I wouldn't say tradition, an annual torture that I have to go through because it's always around Christmas time, which makes it even worse. So, but yeah, I'm going to go through all of these. 1Password, like I said, I added it on here just so that people know I tried. But I just, because of their practices on wanting a credit card, if they didn't ask for the credit card and they just would give me the 14-day trial, I don't care about the pricing structures. I would have just mentioned it and then would have covered it and did an analysis. But again, I'm not going to give somebody my credit card where I don't even know if I want their product. And personally, I'm sure a lot of people are just tired of identity theft and they try to avoid it as much as possible. But the Keeper, Bitwarden, NordPass, we go over and I go through all of their stuff on the things that I think that the majority of people will really focus on. And then we'll figure out, as it says on top, which one is most economical for your average consumer. All right. Thank you. And with this, we'll go to the first product review. Hey, everybody. So this is my analysis on the Keeper password program. In this one, so for full disclosure, I've actually been using this now for 2 years. So I will admit I have not used their more complex stuff. And in this video, I'm not going to be covering the complex stuff. When I say complex, there's things where You can kind of share secured files and do some like a family plan and things like that. And honestly, those things are great, I'm sure, but I think most of the people, I would say 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, will never use those features. So most families, they have one person who's like managing their finances or whatever. The other person has access to them but never looks at them. So they just give them the password and account information, but they never log in. So, not that my family's dynamics are like that. They're not. But there are families that are. So I'm basically going to be covering what the majority of people, well, 100% of the people will be using, and then what the features where that basically cover about 80 to 90%, I would say, of the users out there, which is just managing your passwords, managing your accounts, handling two-factor authentication, and how to cross-platform between your phone and your computer or tablet. You can use them both. So first, let's go over the free version, because they do have a free version, versus the paid version. So in my usual thing I have, as you can see on the top right, or actually on the whole right-hand part of the screen, is a bulleted list of what I'm going to be covering here. And I always I know it's very odd. Most people don't do this. They just kind of just talk. I do the bulleted list so you know the topics that I'm kind of covering. And there's some people are probably hearing impaired, and I don't know how closed caption is going to convert things. So it's easy for people to just kind of read and kind of say, hey, okay, I get what he's saying there. So I'm covering this section right here. So the free version, you're limited to just one device. The website says mobile device, so I'm not sure if that means that if you are using the thick client, which is this person here, it's also counts as limited to one. And then the browser is unlimited. So unlimited, I guess you can use it on as many devices as you want, but they don't say that. They don't really clarify, and I'll be honest, I did not try the free one, so I don't know the answers to that question. However, the fact that they limited to just to 10 accounts, 10 records, makes the free version useless, meaning like you can only test it, but for your average, pretty much everybody, for actually using it all of the time, the free version makes it impossible. So I kind of never mess with it. I did do, the reason why I did buy Keeper 2 years ago is they had a trial version, and I did like it at the time, and it was heavily discounted. And we're going to go over the pricing right now. So the pricing varies, and I say varying because they offer discounts of 50%. This is this is their Black Friday, as you see for the screenshot, Black Friday discounts. And then here's the discounts. This is a screenshot too of today, which is after the holidays. So the 50% discount seems to be there all of the time and as you can see, new clients only. So existing clients don't ever get these prices. And I think that was one of the reasons why I renewed, because when I bought Keeper the first time, I actually bought it through the Microsoft App Store. And it was actually cheaper to do that than to actually get it through Keeper directly. Then when I renewed, I discovered that there was if I went straight through the Keeper site, it was way more expensive than I went through a different route, and I was able to renew another year and get this massive, I think, 50% discount. But I guess Keeper clamped down on that, and they removed it, so you can't even renew it anywhere else. But all of the stuff has to go through them. So existing customers pay full price, new customers get 50% off. Now, as you can see here, the bulleted list, the existing customers, it's $35 just for the password manager. If you want Breach Watch, which means that it's watching to see if your accounts have been compromised, then it's an additional 20, roughly. So it's $54.98. I just rounded to $55, 2 pennies. I don't like it when businesses do this. This drives me crazy. It's like, just save yourself 3 character places, make it 35. And this is just as bad. So I just round it because, and I always round it up because they're hoping you're going to round it down and think that it's a whole dollar less. It's a psychological thing, and these kind of pricing have been around, I guess 30 plus years now. I just wish it would stop. But anyways, so that's the pricing. Um, as you could, when you look over these videos, you'll see I've actually switched, and I'll go over the switching and everything. But one of the main reasons why I ended up switching was because of uh, this pay thing that they have. It kind of reminds me of your cable companies. If you have if you were one of the people who are lucky to have multiple cable companies in your area, it's always new customers get these massive discounts, and then existing customers have to pay like a massive, literally a 50 to 100% markup on their prices, um, as soon as their 1 year is up, and they refuse to give you the discount. So basically, there was a period where it was common for most people. You go with Comcast for a year, then you switch to Verizon for a year, then if you have another cable company, switch for them for a year, and then you go back to Comcast for a year, and you just start the cycle over and over and over again, and you just keep bouncing. And the cable companies never ever got the hint. Anyways, that's what this pricing structure reminds me of. It's just I don't like it. I just don't like it, and I don't want to support it, which is actually the main reason, one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, why I left Keeper. So that's why I started my hunt, and I'll cover that in my introduction, in my conclusion section. So let's just focus on Keeper. So here, if you're a new customer, you get 50% off. It seems like it's all of the time, and it's not a Black Friday thing. This is Black Friday. This is after the holidays. It seems like they got 50% off all of the time. So there really is no discount in that regards. Okay, so now let's go on to the platforms. The platforms they support: mobile. They do have a mobile app, and so obviously, if they have the mobile app, they'll support the tablet because the app will work on the tablet. They have the browser version, which is this right here, as you can see, and then they have a thick client version, which is this. So the thick client, one of the things that I do like about Keeper is that the browser and the thick client are identical. I have not been able to see a difference in the features between the two. So that everything that works on one works on the other, which is very, very nice. There are some of their competitors where the browser version provides a lot more functionality than the thick client, and I wish they wouldn't do that. I wish if I install the thick client, I want to use the thick client. I don't want to use the browser. It's just nice to have the thick client. You know, you get the little icon down here, and you can click on it and get your passwords and stuff like that. If I don't want to have to always open up the browser. So that is one of the things that I do like about the Keeper. One of the things that I don't like about Keeper, and this has been covered by other people's reviews, the interface can't be changed or adjusted. Not even on your mobile phone. I like dark mode. As you can see, I wear glasses. On my left eye, I actually have a scar. You cannot see it. That goes right across the pupil of my eye. So it causes light distortions. I have special glasses that actually help reflect or control light coming into my eye so that I can see, because if not, I actually will see, my eyes will fight, because this left eye, sees differently than the right because of that scar bending light. So I like to use dark mode all of the time. The fact that they use white screen all the time, do not allow you to use dark mode, irritates me. I can deal with it. I just hate it, especially on my cell phone. So if you are looking for one of those people where your eyes have issues with light or something like that, you obviously want to stay away from this. Even if it provides the features you want, there are options that provide the identical features, and at least you will get your dark mode for light. That is one of the things that I don't like, is that it just doesn't change the interface. So let's go over first the reports and stuff, because I always go, in my previous reviews, I kind of covered those first as well, because I think those are way more important than a lot of the other things that the software can do, because they're in the business of managing your passwords and keeping you safe. Well, part of that is keeping you safe is to tell you when there are risks with whatever you're trying to do with your account. So they're in this double thing. They're not necessarily a virus protection because it's a totally different thing, but they're still a kind of conceptually a security layer for you. So the reports and what they're telling you are, in my mind, very important. So let's go over first the security audit. The security audit section goes through all of your passwords, and it will actually tell you which passwords have been reused and which ones are weak, and then it provides them to you for here, and then you can actually just click and change them. So if your passwords are duplicated, so like let's take this, these are just fake passwords that I typed in here, and then let's go to Paylocity, and we will edit him, and then we will make his password identical, and then let's go back, and then now we have reused passwords. So it shows that these two are reused. As you can see, one of the things that I am not happy with, I wish they would do it, is show you which ones are reused. They just say these two are reused. Okay. But it's easy because I only have 2 accounts now. And I think I've said the same thing with other password managers. But I would like to know which accounts have the same password. Don't let me guess it, because what happens here is if I fix this one, right, the other one disappears. So what if I look at this one, I fix this, I say, hey, the password is 123456. So let's just change that and let's make it a weak password. 12345, right? And then let's go to all. Let's go to here and let's make him 12345. Right? So now what's going to happen is if I fix one, then the other one disappears automatically. And so watch. Let's edit and let's just make it 12345 I just added the number 6. So now hit save, and then we'll go back, and you notice it just disappears. Which, you know, I want to know. I want to know which ones have the same passwords, because if I go into one and I notice, hey, this password's really weak, and unless I take a screenshot or go to a notepad and physically type it so I can remember it, or I have really great memory and at my age I don't anymore, I can't, you know, it's not, you can't do it easily through the interface. So, but it does, at least it tells you that you have a weak passwords or reused passwords. So that's feedback to Keeper so far. Dark mode, you need to add that in. I don't care that your interface is super old, but you got to take into account interfaces being super old is just basically a ooh ah thing. But dark mode is not a thing where you call basically a cool doodad. It's actually a medical necessity for a lot of people, and myself included, because of my eyes. Put that in there. Reverse this. Make your text black, and then make everything that was black white, and and just change it, flip flop everything if you want to keep it simple, and your interface will work fine, and at least it'll be nice in dark mode. Anyways, going back to the password, the same thing. Feedback to the same thing. Keeper, give us an ability. Don't clear this list right away. Give me a refresh button. Merge them together. Put these into some sort of a group. This group all have the same passwords. Okay? Let me fix them, and then when I say I'm done, I can hit the refresh button and have you then go through it. At that point, then it's my responsibility. So doing it that way would allow me to then I can fix multiple things at the same time without having them disappear and having to take notes on Notepad. Oh, Fanatical and Paylocity have the same password. And are both weak. I don't have to take notes like that. So, but that's what this report covers, what they consider weak passwords and which ones are reused, which are very helpful because we don't want, if you're going to use this kind of software, there's absolutely no reason to have reusable passwords. None. So it's because it's managing it all for you. That's the whole point of it. So reusable, because if one password gets compromised, you don't want the hackers to be able to access other systems. So go ahead and do this. So we covered both of those. Now let's go on to Breach Watch. Now on Breach Watch, there's nothing really on here for those two accounts, but I did take some screenshots of my account to kind of go over to show you a little bit more on what this is looking like. So Breach Watch has two main things. It's showing you risks that it found from its initial scan, and then you can click on them and do some editing. And then it also still shows you a resolution history of those. So if you can see from my screenshot here where I have things that are blanked out, they identified that like my Costco information was compromised. My Australian Design Group information was compromised, so on and so forth. And then they show on this side here the things that were resolved, that I went through it and I physically clicked on that it was resolved. I do like this interface where it actually lets me mark things as resolved, so it doesn't constantly put them in my face and when did I resolve them and did I actually take an action. As you can see, these green ones means I took an action, where this black one, these are my aquarium lights on my fish tank. Yes, my fish tank has a login. It doesn't have a password. It's just I'm not allowed to put a password on it. It's just the aquarium lights. It's just so that I can manage it because I have a saltwater tank. And there's an app to manage it. So it flagged it as a security risk, but it really is not. So I'm able to just say, ignore this guy. So I like this feature. Some of the other ones, other apps, they provide you these kind of features, but they don't allow you to mark them as resolved. They just constantly just put them in your face. So that is actually pretty cool, that I like it, that they let you do that. And this whole thing where they basically kind of say, hey, these things have been compromised. Fix it. So I figured if I took screenshots, it was better than showing you this. And again, I wanted to show you that the web browser and the thick client, there's no difference, as you can see. We'll close this, and you can see that they work identical, which is, again, one of the things I do like. There really is no difference between the two. All right, so we've covered now Breach Watch. Let's go to the My Vaults. Now, My Vaults is where you actually manage your passwords and stuff. One of the features that I like about Keeper, it was one of the things that I switched because I found somebody else that can do this. If I could not find another person, another company, competitor to do this, I would not have switched. Honestly, I would have ended up paying their money, because to me, folders are a necessity. I have to keep my passwords organized. I just don't want 100 passwords in one folder. I like to keep them all organized. And they support not only folders, but multiple folders. You can create and do date test. And then you can have another subfolders, and it works just like if you're having a Windows directory structure. And then you can just kind of organize. You can even drag and drop stuff, which is actually pretty neat. I can move it. Their interface is very, very simple in that regards. Not everybody does do the things on that simplicity level. And again, I want to show, move my vault. They work identical. Again, I want to point out, that is one of the things that I have to say. Keeper is A++ in that regards from me, is that their two interfaces are identical and they are extremely easy to use. Drag and drop, creating folders. If you're one of their competitors and you're looking at my videos, you need to look at this, because I did not really find others that are as simplistic as Keeper. That is one of the things that they definitely strive for is the simplicity on how to just move things around, drag and drop it. Their goal was very simple, to try to make it as Windows-like as humanly possible. Um, so A++ for that. And then folders, you saw me create one. You can have as many hierarchical folders, infinity and beyond. So we've gone over that. Two-factor authentication. They do support it. They do support it. I created a fake one here. Where is it? I created a fake one for, I think, Fanatical. And as you can see, this is a fake code. I just entered some random stuff, and it's generating numbers, and they change, and I can copy just like anything else. You can copy it, paste it. This, well, again, everything I'm showing you here immediately shows up on the app. So when you make changes here, as long as you're connected to the internet, it's in the cloud. There's also a no cloud feature, so that does store the information locally. So if you don't have access to the internet at that point, the thick client will continue working. The browser obviously won't. And the app on your phone will continue working, even if you don't have an internet connection. And all of this stuff is transferable back and forth. So two-factor authentication, I think it's very, very important. I've covered, and I'll mention it more in the introduction and conclusion, some things that I've actually learned by doing all of this stuff about two-factor authentication and how to manage it in multiple areas in case you basically lose or reset your phone. So a lot of people have an app on their phone that's managing it, and then if they lose their phone or something and they lose the information, they can't recover. They have to recreate it all. Or they never take the code down. They scan the barcodes in, and then they don't know what the physical code is. Whereas in here, when we look at this, let's see. Oh, they're not letting me back in. Okay, this is something new I learned. So Keeper is not showing me the original code that I entered in. So there's a big long number. When you scan the barcode in, it gets right into your phone. The Keeper app has the ability to do both the scanning, or you can enter the number in. So you basically come here and then you say, actually, it doesn't have it here because he already has it. So I guess you can only have one. Edit. See here. Yeah. So it asks you to manually enter the code, which I could have, but I'm not going to, or you can scan it in. So I guess Keeper itself is not providing you that information again. So what I would recommend to people is Keeper, if you're going to use Keeper, is the code that you enter for the two-factor authentication, put it into your notes section. So if you're going to put in a code like this, some junk, then copy it and put it in your notes section. The reason for that is if for recovery reasons, or if you need to move it to another app or something. So if you ever want to leave Keeper and go to another software package, one of the things that I noticed when I moved from Keeper to another one, it did not bring over a lot of my stuff. It brought over my passwords and my user IDs and some of my notes, but there was a bit of a disconnect with like the authentication, two-factor authentication, and a few other places where they did not convert. So you're going to have to manually copy this over to, if you're switching to a different app. So if you don't take these numbers down, and let's say you switch from Keeper to Nordstrom or whatever, then what's going to happen is you're going to have to redo all of these because you have no way of getting these numbers back. So some of the other password managers will actually let you recover the key. So you put in the key and then you can get to it anytime if you want to copy it and put it someplace else. So that's it for that. So we covered two-factor authentication. That's this section right here. We went over a bit on the authentication app. I do recommend, and I've mentioned this in other videos, and I'll recommend it again here. It's kind of repetitive. I would use the Microsoft Authenticator app because if you're using, it works both on Android, and I think it works on Apple OS as well. But Microsoft, as long as you have a Microsoft account, which is free, it retains it and just gives you all this stuff back. So if you lose your phone, and you install a new one, or you reset your old phone, sell it or whatever, and buy a new one, bring it up. As soon as you come in and you log in, it'll bring back all of your authenticators back. So there are some apps that will do this kind of stuff, but they don't retain it. So it's one of the things that I would recommend for people. So now let's go on to actually using the application to log in websites. And I am going to first use Fanatical as my example. It's a simple. Fanatical is a website. It's a gaming website. I've used them. I'm not trying to advertise them, so I want to point out I picked them randomly for these demos, and I'm just being consistent because I've used them in the other demos. It's just a random gaming website. Hackers are not going to be interested in getting information from you, so just giving you simple. So basically, sign in, and then when you click on it, you see the little keeper insignia here, and then you can say field record, and then it just fills it in. Very simple, just like all the other ones. And you also have, you can do it this way too. You got the guy up here, and then you can just pick it, and then you can just say autofill, and then it'll fill it in for you, because this is an extension, and the extension exists again in all the browsers, Chrome, Edge, whatever browsers they support, it's identical. So that covers that. Now I want to cover custom fields. And I mentioned custom fields because a lot of people will use this for work, and then maybe an ID or something. And I used Paylocity in my other videos, and I'm using them again in this one because they do have a custom field. Again, I'm not trying to sell Paylocity. I'm not making any money from anybody. There is no advertisements in this video. I'm just doing this to help people. So Paylocity, their login has the normal login, user ID, and password, but then they also have what they call a company ID. So we click login, and then you see the 3 fields, and you see how Keeper auto-filled it for me, and they were able to identify company ID for me and plop it in with the 555, which is right here. And that's an important feature. I'm pointing this out because that's an important feature that password managers must have nowadays. Some of them don't, believe it or not. They'll just do the login and password, and you have to remember to put the 555, or yourself, or add it to the notes and then physically copy it over. So that thing with the custom fields it's very helpful, and you can put in as many as you like. So you just edit. The way you do it is you hit not add attachments. Oops. It's add custom field, and then you pick the field type, and then you just enter the information. You edit the label so it knows what the label to look for on the screen, and then you enter what it's supposed to be, and voila, you are done. So we now covered custom fields. And again, all these screens are identical. It does not matter whether you use the browser version or you're using the thick client version. So I want to go over now the tray icon for Keeper, which is actually pretty helpful. So like if you are, with COVID, a lot of people working from home, if you have like a VPN or something like that, this is something that I found that is very unique to Keeper. So a lot of them will offer the little icon down here, but they open up the thick client app like this. But Keeper is unique where you click it and it actually gives you this quick search. You can have favorites, you can do a quick search. I can type in Paylocity and then it'll immediately give it to me. And then I click on it and now I could copy the information, bringing over. So if I've got like a thick client app, like I'm opening up a VPN or something like that, I could bring this up, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, plop it in, and really easy. That is one of the things that really sticks out on Keeper. Nobody else has this feature. I really like it. I wish others would take a key from this, their competitors, take a key from this, that this feature, just making the icon, you double click and open the thick client, is no different than having it pegged right here on my taskbar on the bottom. So I'm glad that they made it unique. And it's also single click, not double click, whereas in all the other ones they're double click because they're going to open up the thick client, where I just click once and this comes up and I have access to everything, and it also remembers where I left off. So that's a very nice feature to have. So I want to point out the things that it really stuck to me that I really liked. Now, this is going to pertain to mostly people who work from home, or even if you're using, let's say you working from home, you have a company laptop and your company's allowing you to use a password manager, or they're using officially Keeper, just to notify you. So if you are using Chrome, this does not apply to you, so you don't have to really worry about it. But if you are using Edge, I mentioned this in other video in the other sections. Edge will try to log on with Windows authentication if it determines that the server that you're connecting to is Windows. So when you're using Keeper and this feature is coming up, when you're trying to log in, doing don't know, a company website or whatever, your business, you're going to get this double combination where you see Windows prompting you to enter in your PIN or whatever for your Windows, and then you got Keeper giving you this. Now, one of the things that I do see with Keeper when it does this, which is annoying, is it doesn't always show up in the front. In this screenshot, I'm showing you in the front, but it doesn't always show you up. It's 90% of the time, it's hiding in the back. And unless you're looking for it and you know what you're looking for, you don't know. You'll see it on the toolbar on the bottom down here, where you'll see Keeper, and then you have to physically click on it and we'll bring it to the front. And all you have to then just do is click OK. Keeper will automatically close this down for you and log you into the website by using your credentials, because it brings this up when it actually identified that this website you're going to is one of the passwords that it's managing. In other videos, I said the way to get around is you hit X and then it'll go into your what they call basic authentication mode, so that the password manager can then handle it. With Keeper, they always give you this pop-up. It's still the same thing, basic, as they even say, basic authentication. This is how you deal with it when it comes to Keeper. I think that covers the majority of the things that I wanted to go over in regards to Keeper. Like I said earlier, this is a recap. Some of the most outstanding features for Keeper is the simplicity, the feeling that it's like you're using Windows naturally, with the dragging and dropping, and how the browser interface and the thick client are not different. The other thing is this feature down here with this quick search, very outstanding. I really, really like it. When you're using the mobile app, it will auto determine. So if an app comes up, because there is no way for you, well, I'll cover that in a second, but when the app comes up on your phone, whether like, let's say Paylocity or PayPal or something like that, and you have Keeper up, it will automatically detect that this is one of your accounts if it sees your account there, and it will say, hey, do you want me to link these two together permanently? And you just say yes, and then from then on, it'll automatically put the passwords in there. So those kind of features really are outstanding. The things that I don't like about Keeper is you don't have any way of, so if Keeper can't determine if the app is attached to one of your accounts, there's no physical way for you to say, hey, these two are linked, and fix it manually yourself. The auto detecting is nice. There's no way to doing it. As I just found out, I can't recover the physical code that created this two-factor authentication code. That's a feature I should have the ability to do. When I go into edit mode, I should be able to kind of go in here and pull those numbers that created this information back out. There's no dark mode. That is another thing that I don't like about it. And then the final thing, I don't like their pay scheme on how they do this. In my mind, Breach Watch needs to be removed, and it should just be part of the main package. If you don't want to have a free version, that's fine. You know, your current free version is just basically for people to play around with. I would, in fact, just even get rid of the free version and just give people a 1 month free trial, and give them all of the functionality. Your free version is pointless. Nobody's going to manage just 10 passwords. Everybody has more than 10 records to deal with, so there's no point in giving a free version. But the paid plan, just stop. This stuff is just yeah, I don't really like it, and it's why I ended up one of the main reasons why I ended up switching from Keeper to another competitor. Um, so I think that can't think of anything else to cover on here. I think we covered everything, went through the whole entire bullet list, and on to the next one. Hey everybody! In this section, I'm going to be going over Bitwarden and everything that I've learned about it, and also the differences between the paid and the free version. As I normally do, I have my notes on the left right-hand side so you can follow along and read through the bulleted lists I'm going to be covering throughout this little demo of mine here. And I'm trying to teach you how to use this Bitwarden so you can get the most out of it. So first, let's go over pricing. Um, Pricing, free. Can't be free. And not only is it free, but it's unlimited free. Like you can have unlimited passwords, unlimited devices, do whatever you want. It has an app for the Android. I think it has one for Apple. I'm going to assume it does too. Um, the Android one works just as good as the other ones that I've used. I see no problems with it, and just works great. And it's actually very, very easy to set up, and I'll show you how to do that. So the paid version supports two-step authentication using the Authenticator app. I'll go into some details at the conclusion section on thoughts on the authentication and how to set all that up. It's just important at this point to know that the free version doesn't support it. However, the free version does let you input it, and I recommend you do that. So even though you cannot use it, I recommend you when you do the two-step authentication, you get the key, not just scan it with your phone, and then you put it in here. And again, in the conclusion, I'm going to cover the reasons as to doing that. Also, in the premium, you get some really great reports that will help you um, with your password management stuff. So let's go over that. We're now on this section here that I'm going to be covering step by step. So the reports, and I'm covering the reports earlier than I am covering on how to use the app, simply because right now we're trying to distinguish the difference between free and not free, and the premium. This is premium stuff. So the checking exposed passwords, this report actually comes in pretty handy because it's not a direct reflection on your password and you using the password. It's a detection to see if the password that you're using has been found on the internet, meaning anybody else could have used the password on one of their accounts, which means that you're copying and using that same exact password. So this is showing you, and as you can tell, I typed in some passwords here, and it's being used 42,702 times, as they have found, exposed on the internet. So, so that's what this report tells you. It's actually quite helpful because if you see one of your logins and you typed in the password in there, um, then you know that, and you're seeing it in here, you're like, maybe I should change that. Again, this is a premium. It is not in the free. So that's this part right here we just went over. So now let's go over to reuse password report. This report comes in really handy because it shows you, well, it's going to show you all the accounts here where the area that I blocked off, and it's going to show you um, it's going to tell you how many times the password's been reused within. It looks through all of your logins, and it's going to say, hey, did you use the password 1234 three times? So it's going to tell you right here. So one of the cool things about it is in the report is it's showing you this, and you can actually click right here. It gives you a pop-up. You can change it. Go to the website and then go in here as well and then change it really quick. And then you can kind of go through this report list one at a time. So one of the cool things of this report, it's not just a report and then you got to go back to the vaults or the section where the login is and then go and change it. You can do it right here and just kind of go down that list and then just go one at a time. One of the recommendations, because I'm hoping that the makers of Bitwarden will see this video at some point, is on this one here, group them. please, because yes, I see the password is reused 3 times, but what are the other two? What are the other two accounts? This is all over the place. I don't know what are the other two that are reusing it. So the take these brackets and remove it and then just group so you show 3, then put the line break, show me the 3 accounts, line break, and then the next one is 2 accounts, put the 2 accounts together, then the line break, so that I know which 2 have the same ones. And then I can go from there. Okay, so that explains this one. Let's go to the next one. The weak password report. So this one goes through, and again, this is all premium. This one goes through and it looks at all of your passwords to see what is, if it classifies it as weak or not. And again, just like I said in the other one, if it's classified as weak, you can work on it here, click on it, get the little pop-up, go to the website at the same time, change the password, enter here, and then just go rinse and repeat, go down the list until you get them all knocked off and gone. Okay, so next one, unsecured websites. This one is kind of handy because most people don't understand what this means. And there's 2 protocols on the internet. There's HTTP and HTTPS. HTTP was like literally the first one. HTTP is an unencrypted call to a website. And it's just plain text. Anybody throughout the entire chain can intercept it and read it, and they can see everything that's being sent. HTTPS encrypts everything. So what this is basically telling you is that these sites, these accounts, and again, you can click on, here you can click on them as well and change it, are using HTTP instead of HTTPS, and they are a security risk, and you should not be using them. Okay, so the next one, the next report is inactive two-step inactive two-step login. This one's unique. I have never seen this kind of a report before, and I really, really, really like it. What they're doing here is they're going through all of your accounts, and anyone that they see that does not have two-step authentication, but they have identified in their database that company or website does support two-step authentication, they're adding it here to let you know, hey, you can add an extra level of security here and turn on two-step authentication. And not only did they do that, but then they actually went out of their way and provide you a link, which you just click here on the instructions, that takes you to that company's website on step-by-step instructions on how to turn it on. It's great. It's easy. I went through this and I was amazed on how many logins on my accounts supported two-step authentication that I had no idea did. And it was kind of silly of them, like, fanatical. This is a gaming website. You just buy basically cheap games and stuff like that. And they support two-step authentication. I had no idea until it showed up on Bitwarden. On Bitwarden. And I was like, great, that's awesome. Okay, so the next one, I believe, is available in both paid and free. And that is the data breach report. And I switched here from screenshots because I did take a screenshot here. But I realized I can actually show you. This is actually a screenshot within this application to show you the data breach, what it looks like. But here is through the browser, and you can see a data breach. And I typed in fake@yahoo.com. So apparently fake has been compromised quite a bit. Again, this is quite unique. I've gone through, Keeper was the one that I've had before, and some of these other websites, and they all have the data breach and they charge some way, shape, or form. Ironically, Bitwarden does not charge you for this. This is included in the free package. Not only that, but the other sites, they just say, like here, you see Adobe. They just say your information was compromised by Adobe, and they kind of give you, I think, maybe a year of when the compromise was happened, and that's it. They don't give you anything else. So it's up to you to figure out what was compromised? Do I need to do something? Do I not need to do something? So on. Well, I give you Bitwarden. They actually tell you what was compromised. So in Adobe, the email address, your password hints, your passwords, and your usernames were compromised. So you know that for your Adobe website, you need to change your password because it's been compromised. And some of these may not have passwords and may not have been compromised, their password itself. Let's see if we can find one in this list. These are all passwords, passwords, passwords. Here's one. Modern Business Solutions. They got your personal information, but they did not get your login ID or your password. So if this is one of your sites, you know, okay, I don't need to change my password. They didn't get it. Should I change my password? Probably, especially if you haven't changed it since 2016, because they tell you when the breach happened and when it was actually reported to the public. But if you don't want to change it, you know that it hasn't been compromised, your password, you don't have to. But I would recommend you do. So any of these data breaches, if you haven't changed your password from the date that the breach took place, not the date that it was reported, because they give you, which is nice, they tell you when it was reported, and then they also tell you when the breach took place. If you already had changed your password after the date of the breach, you're good. Don't worry about it. But again, this is really unique. I like that they provide you all of this detailed information. It really helps you not play the guessing game on what do I need to change and not go into emergency mode and change everything. Okay, so now let's go on to the actual usage in the vaults. Now, a vault is basically your password, your container. It's going to hold all of your personal information, your passwords, your credit card numbers, your identity information. It's going to hold all of that information. Now, at first, when I was searching online for Bitwarden, I actually came across it by accident through AI. Chat GPT actually recommended it, and because I just basically told Chat GPT, I said, "Hey, give me the top 10 password manager sites out there," and I said, "Give it a rating from 0 to 100." And it gave a 95 to Bitwarden. And it said the reason for it is because the free version pretty much does everything that most people need. And I said, okay, how would you rate it if you took away it and it made it not free? And then it dropped down on the list. It wasn't the highest anymore. Some of the other ones beat it. I got to tell you, though, after using it, it's still in my mind really high on the list. It's a little bit convoluted, and I think that the makers of this product can make some really easy changes, because I am a programmer and I kind of understand some of this stuff. They can make some really small changes to make this really easy for your average user that doesn't know how to figure these things out. Okay, so I also then asked the AI, can you tell me which password managers support subfolders? Because I really like to organize my stuff. And the only one that it can come up with was Keeper, which I already had Keeper, and I was using it for 2 years. And I know that it creates subfolders, but I was looking for some alternative. And I did some Google searches, and most of them were saying, oh no, the Bitwarden doesn't support subfolders. But then I did find it. The Bitwarden does have a great Q&A site, and they give you all the information, and they actually go over how to create subfolders. So I'm going to show you how to do that right here. So you click New, Folder. What do you want to call a folder? Let's just say Finance. Right? That's your first folder. I hit Save. It just created this folder right here. Now, I want to create a subfolder in that. So what I'm going to do is I do New, Folder. I have to type the name exactly the way it's written. Case sensitive as well. Finance / and let's call it Banking. And save. And see, now it created a subfolder called Banking. The order matters. And the reason why I say that is you can't do this. If you do Banking / or Internet / games, it's just going to create Internet / games for you. So the order in which you create this, now if you do this, I don't believe it'll do the merge then. So if you do internet now, oh, it does do the merge. So we'll merge it for you. That's good. That's good. I didn't try that. So I'm trying that now talking to you. So you see that slash matters, and you can go multiple levels deep. So we've got finance, banking. Let's create a new one. Finance, banking, personal. And now we're 3 levels deep. And yes, you can put passwords accounts in here at any of these levels. So it supports folders. And you put anything you want. So like, even though you have these categories, the credit card, you actually, everything gets placed inside of folders. And if you have items that don't have a folder, just click here and it's going to tell you, hey, it goes in a folder. And let's say you want to move something. Let's move Fanatical to gaming. Internet games. Done. Now it's been moved. And if I go to games, there you go. And I go back to no folder, it's not there. See? And you can just move it back. If you want to again put it back to where it was with no folder, no folder. And there you go. Back to no folder. So one of the things that I recommend to, again, Bitwarden is this whole thing with the slash. People are just used to just creating it, just have the new type, just select the folder, hit new, and then have it just create directly so I don't have to do the slashes. The thick client works identical. So if you click on the banking and then you see these things are reflecting right away, and then you basically hit add, and you choose a folder, or not that, but where is it? Oh, here it is. Do add, and then you type in finance / banking / test, and it does it here too. So this is the Windows client, and this is the browser client. And that's how you create folders, and you can organize all of your stuff however you want. And let's say you can't find something, you don't know where it is on your tree. You just, because we'll end up having hundreds of passwords and so on, sites that you've gone to. All you got to just do is click on login, which then lists everything, and then you can type in a search, and it'll find it. So let's go here, and we'll move this guy over to internet gaming. So now it's no longer in the no folder. It's now there. So, and I want to do a search. I just go over to here, login, or actually I can just do my vault, which is everything, and then just type in Fanatical, and then it'll weed through and find whatever it is that I'm trying to find. So that's there. That's how to organize it, and you're entering it. So with that stuff said, let's go into now covering the URI. So we've covered everything from here up. So now let's go into the URI. So if you see next to Paylocity and Fanatical, I've got these little logos here. I didn't add them in. I'm going to be clear. I did not add those in. They did. And the way they do that is whatever is, so I've already taught you establish that whatever logins you put in here or whatever items you put in here, you can, when you find them, you select them, you click on it, you get this pop-up. And then now you can edit whatever you need to. And the same thing, it's identical in the Windows client. You select the item, and then instead of opening up a pop-up, it puts it to the right side, but you can change it here too. So this, what they call URI 1, and the reason why they call it URI 1 is you can add multiple URLs. And the reason why I'm saying that, mentioning this, is there could be multiple sites for the same login information. So like, think of it as SSO, single sign-on. If you have a single sign-on for like 3 or 4 different websites, so whenever you change your password on one, it changes them all. You can, but they all have different URLs for login. What you can do is you can just create one login thing, but then you can add 6 different links to it so that it knows whenever you go to it that that's what's going to use to populate the user ID and password. And it's going to use this program up here to do it. We'll cover that in a little bit. So the URI1 handles that. And then, so the way Bitwarden does is it takes URI1, it takes that link, goes against their database, and it tries to see if it can find out if it's a known item with an image, and then it gives you that nice friendly image back and puts it in there. And it is encrypted. Actually, it's not encrypted, but you can. I played it. They actually, in their help description stuff, they give you the link, and you can manipulate it however you want. So that they're just telling you there's no security, but you don't have to worry about it. It's just sending you back the URL for the image. So, okay. So now let me explain to you with how this is going to work with Android and how to set it up for apps on Android. If you notice, like I had Keeper, and one of the difficulties I had was taking in one single login and then having it both for the website and for an Android app. It is possible. You can do it, and I used Keeper for 2 years, but it was kind of like, okay, I had to go in the app. It needed to recognize it somehow, and then it would sometimes tell me, hey, I found it. Here's the user ID and password. Do you want me to permanently link it? And I would say yes. Well, Bitwarden, you can just go through all of the apps on your phone really quick and then add them in yourself. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So let's go to Google App Store. And then just look for, and I'm using Paylocity, and you'll see why in a little bit. But Paylocity, I do believe, has an app. So here we have the app, right? So like, how do I get from here to how do I get this Android? How do I get this thing over into Bitwarden so that it knows that it's on my Android phone? How does it link? Well, in my notes here, you see this one's for PayPal, right? So if you want to link it to PayPal, but let's just take this part here, Android app // We add a new URI, copy it in here, and that's what you're going to do over and over again. So any apps, all apps that you're trying to link to from your cell phone, and this includes tablet apps, by the way, too, as long as it's an Android app. You always start with this Android app // You go to Paylocity, click on it, and then you look at the link here. You see this part right after the ID? Right up to that ampersand sign. You want to copy it, and then you paste it right there. And then save it. And now what's going to happen is when you install Bitwarden on your cell phone, and then you bring up the Paylocity app, when you get the login page or the login requests, it knows that this account belongs to it, and it will automatically populate it for you and take care of it. And it's that easy, and you can just keep going down the list, so you don't have to kind of go through this convoluted thing of trying to figure out on the cell phone. You just set it up this way, and easy peasy. Okay, so next step, let's set the two-user authentication. I'm going to talk about that in the conclusion section. So we're going to skip that right here. So custom fields. Custom fields, there's a standard login, which is your username here, and then obviously your password, which is your password here. But some login places require more information. And this is the reason why I chose the Paylocity website, because it does require more information. So for Paylocity, they require a company ID. So what I did is I added a custom field, called it a text, and then I hit the plus sign. So I select the type. So in this case, text, hit the plus. You just type in company ID, which you already have it. I'm not going to save it because I read it, and then just type 555. It has to match exactly the way you see it on the website, which I'm going to show you now. So now we're going to go to Paylocity. We click login, and you see they have company ID here and all this information. I don't have it's set to auto insert. I do it the inserting myself, and then the reason for that is it could be a potential security risk if you by accident go to the wrong website and they somehow spoof the URL, at least temporarily, or somehow hijack it. You're basically giving the hackers your information. So I always like to physically click on it, but you can go into settings and change it yourself if you want it. If you want it that way. Okay, so let's go back in here, and now I'm going to click to log in, and you notice it populated the company ID for me, 555. So not only did it figure out where the username and password was, but it also did 555. And that's one of the cool things that I really like, that it auto completes that information for you, and it lets you do all of these custom fields and stuff like that. One thing to note, so I'm now moving on to this section here. We've already covered all the reports. The Windows application does not have the reports. You're going to have to, if you want to see all those cool reports that I mentioned earlier, you have to go into the actual application itself. And then you got them. And as you can see, these are closed off. You need premium, but the data breach is available, and you can look at that one. So that's not available in the thick client. The other thing, there is one known bug that I've discovered, and I'm going to show you how to do it, and so that you can avoid it. And hopefully the devs will see this and then they'll fix it. So I'm changing my username, and I'm going to hit save. And watch, it's showing me the old one still, but I have to hit edit and then save again, and now it's fixed. I don't know why the web client does that, but it does. I mean, the thick client for Windows does that. Unfortunately, that is the only thing, and apparently it's any of the fields. So you just got to do that right now. Hopefully, Bitwarden will see this and eventually make this little comment obsolete. Another cool feature that they can add it in here. So yes, I have to log in my password. You have multiple options with the thick client. As you can see, this opens it up, but you can go into settings in your thick client. And in the settings part, you can manipulate however you want to see it and change things around. You can make it so that you can use just a pin. So you can also make it on your PC. If you know your PC secured and you're protecting it, you can just skip entering your password at all. I personally like to have like a short key pin just on my machine, just in case, I don't know, somebody's at my house and they can just walk up to my computer. They can't just get all of my passwords unless I physically already logged in. And I think that's about it. Oh, one last thing. So security. So people have gotten confused on logging in using Microsoft Edge and Chrome. So all of the password managers that I've seen and I've used will automatically log into websites that requires basically basic authentication, a user ID and password. Microsoft Edge, it detects if the server you're going to is Windows based, and it tries to get you to log in using like your Windows account or something like that. Microsoft's mind, they believe it's more secure and they don't want you to do basic authentication. Technically, they are right, but the problem is that most websites don't do that. So it's like, why am I getting this prompt? I don't want it. So if you're using Chrome and you've gone to the website, it's going to usually log in user ID and password, even if it's using basic authentication, and it's going to send you right in. And this is mainly going to people for work from probably from home or using their laptop or whatever. But if you're using Microsoft Edge, you're going to get this prompt first. Don't panic. See this X? You click it, close it. It's going to then default to basic authentication. Your password manager will then take over and then log you in. Good to go. That's why we want to cover it, because this is a Microsoft Edge specific thing, and it does not matter what password manager you use. This is going to happen to you. So I figured I'd explain to people what the workaround is, because with after COVID, a lot of people work from home, and this is a good way to get around that and not have to go into panic mode. And that's it. There's nothing else for me to cover, and moving on to the next topic. Hey everybody, in this section we'll be covering NordPass. It's the same company who presents NordVPN, and they have a few other products. As you can see from the screen that I'm showing, it's their main splash screen. We're going to go with the same description where you see on the right hand side, or my right, would be, I guess, yeah, you're right. My notes on what I'm going to be covering here. Again, the goal is not covering everything that NordPass has to offer. I'm covering what basically the majority of people will use. So we're talking about 80% to 90% of the individuals that would want a password manager would use. There's most of the extra features require people that are using it for work or for more complex situation or password sharing. So we're not going to be covering all of that. We're just covering the main features that people will be using. So the first thing I'd like to go over is their pricing. They have a free, premium, and then the family plan. Several of their competitors also have the family plans. And if you have more, like I would say 3 or more members in your family, it's a good deal, I guess. If you have 2, obviously when you do the math, it's better to each individually buy it. So on their free, I've taken some notes. On their free option, they only allow 1 device. There is no syncing, so if you put it on your phone and then you put it on your PC, it's not supposed to be syncing, so you won't have it. I honestly did not test that, so I don't know. I'm actually on the 30-day trial, so the premium. But it's from what I could find out, there is no syncing if you do the free. It does do the autofill, and there's no limit on how many accounts. So basically, if you're not trying to use the passwords on both your phone and on your home PC, if you're just strictly a home PC user or strictly a phone user, the free version could work out for you. But if you need more than that, you have to look at some alternatives out there if you don't want to pay anything. The best one out there for free would be Bitwarden, from all the ones that I've seen, and that will cover and also do multiple devices. So NordPass is the next closest competitor I could find on the free version. So if you prefer NordPass over Bitwarden and you'd only want it on one PC, NordPass is the one for you. Their paid version, as you can see right now, it's on sale for $34.83 at $1.29 a month. But the first thing I want to point out, and I sent them an email on this, and their response was very chaotic. They didn't really tackle my problem, my question. So it was more like they brushed it off, you can say. So $1.29, right? And this is a 2-year plan times 24 is $30.96. But they're charging $34.83. Where does that extra come from? So they do say plus 3 extra months. So what I'm not sure is the 3 extra months free or not free? So let's do that math here. So you got 24 months, that's 2 years, plus 3 more months, that's 27 times 129. And there you got the $34.83. So the advertisement here is questionable, because when they say extra months, they're not implying that they're free. You have to pay for them. So I take it with a grain of salt. But I'm just making people aware that this is really not a 2-year plan. It's a 2-year, 3-month plan that you prepay all of the months, not just 2 years. So I don't like it when companies do these kind of things because they're trying to let people come to their own conclusions that are not doing math. Because somebody who looks at this and go, "Oh, I'm getting 3 free months," and that was my initial reaction when I saw this. It wasn't until I realized, I'm like, that math doesn't seem right, and I did it really quick, and I realized, that's not right. So when they responded, their response was kind of chaotic, but they were trying to basically say that they're not free. So just realize that they are kind of, it's a 2-year, 3-month plan that you're prepaying all of it. Okay, so now enough with the company nonsense stuff. These are the things that companies do that I do not like. So now let's go over. So the full price is $80.73, as you can see from this slash here. But I will say this, it's virtually always on sale. So you're nobody's really paying that full price. So if you really want to do NordPass and go ahead and do it, just come to their site. And if it's not on sale at that moment, just wait. Within a couple of days or whatever, it will go on sale again. And then you can prepay it for the 2 years and 3 months. Okay, so now the platforms that they support, we've covered that. So now let's go to the platforms that they support. Actually, no, let's talk about the 30-day free trial. So you got the 30-day free trial, by the way. I just wanted to show this because if you're not sure, go ahead and do it. They're very nice about it. They don't ask you for credit card information or anything. Just come here, enter your email address, and you create an account. If you don't want to go with them and you change your mind after trialing it, all you have to do is send an email to their support and you tell them you want to delete your account. And you got to be sending the email from the email that you registered the account with. They're going to ask you for a confirmation. Then you respond back saying, yes, please, do a hard delete, get rid of everything, and they will completely clear out your account. But be warned, if you have NordVPN and so on and so forth, they're going to clean out all of those. So if you've got the other services that they're offering, don't ask them to delete your account. But if the only thing you're using is NordPass and you don't want to use it, just send them an email and they'll clear you out as if you never existed in their system. Okay, so now let's go with the platforms. They have the mobile app version, which honestly I have not tested. They have a browser version, but it requires you to install the desktop. So if you don't have it installed on the desktop, you try to if you go to their site and then you click login, it's going to try to get you to download the client. So in my case, I already have it open, so that's why you just saw what happens. Because what it's trying to do is it's trying to open up the desktop. And if you have the desktop and you try to say open up the client, and then part of this is because I'm in private mode, it'll actually open this inside of the browser. So there really is no browser only. They require you to have the desktop application installed. So for those of you who don't want one with the application, or then this is not the one for you, because it requires it. There is like other ones that I've reviewed here. They all have browser versions, strictly browser versions. They do not require the desktop app. NordPass does require it, whether you want to use it through the browser or through the app. The actual desktop app must be installed. They also have a tray icon, but all it does is just opens up the main app. There's nothing else to it. And it does do a right click where you can pick these options that you want to do, but it just opens up the app and just goes straight to those options. It doesn't do anything else other than that. Okay, so as I said in other areas, I like to always go over the report stuff the most because they cover or they provide information for you to make sure that your accounts are secured. And I think there's some features here, the NordPass, that I really, really like on some things that they did here. Oops. There we go. So when you go into their data breach, and I'm doing it through here because if I go through here, it's going to show all my personal stuff that I put in there for testing purposes, because I want to get as close as possible to show you what it would be like. So, and here what you're seeing is email accounts that I've added. And then it tells you any email accounts that you add by clicking the add button here. It's going to tell you what kind of breaches, or it's going to tell you how many breaches that they've discovered. And then as well, as you see in the bottom here, suggested emails to monitor, it's actually smart enough to go through all of your passwords that you've entered, and it pulls out any emails that it detects in there. And if you haven't put them in the monitoring section, it's asking you, hey, do you want to add them to monitor? All you got to just do add, and it moves it to the top. And then they'll start monitoring for you. So all you have to do is you select which one you want to click on, or to look at to see the unresolved issues, and then you'll get a screen that looks like this. And this is just showing you all of it has basically a high priority and low priority, meaning that the data breach was not classified as major, so you don't have to worry about it. Which is kind of nice, because if they did a data breach but they didn't get my password, maybe they got my user ID, I don't care. The user ID is public, most of the time is publicly available knowledge. If you post it, like most companies or websites, if you going to use it like their forum, they use your login ID as the ID that's being posted on the forum. So it's pretty easy to get those. But it's just the password part that's usually complicated. So they show you the high priority section. And if you click on one of these items, you'll get a screenshot like this one. And yes, I for people who just want a quick laugh, yes, I did subscription to Animal Jam. It was for my daughter when she was little, and she played it a lot and loved it, as you can tell. So on this, though, this is actually quite interesting, quite unique. I've never, none of the other applications that I've looked at show their security reports this way. And this revealed leak data button is completely unique to NordPass. I haven't seen that anywhere else, where they actually show you what was leaked. So if you click on this, they'll show you the username, the password. If it was encrypted, it would be in hash, whatever. The IP address, the last one that they detected, the time zone and language, that's specific to Animal Jam. Each one that you look at will actually show you different information in whatever was leaked out, which is really, really nice, because you can look at it and say, oh, do I need to change my password? And if the password was leaked and you look out here and it shows you your password is 12345, well, then you go, I already changed it. It's not 12345 anymore. It's 54321. So I don't have to worry about it. And then you can just ignore it and just mark it as resolved, which they have a button here, right? And the other cool thing, to change password on a website, they give you a link here to go straight to the website and go change it, and then you can update it right here. So very, very handy, very, very nice to use. I really, really, really like their reporting here on this feature, so I wanted to make sure I stick that out as one of the most positive things that I've seen from them. Oh, one last thing I wanted to cover on that same screenshot, the second one. So you see the high priority. There's actually a section all in the bottom that says resolve. So any ones that you marked resolve, clicking this one, they don't just disappear. They go back onto this screen, but on the bottom, so that you can, if you ever have to go back for some odd reason, go back and look at it, you can. So the information is available forever, which is very, very nice. So now let's go over password health. The password health section, and again, I want to point out that this is something that I think NordPass has excelled, and I've made this just in other areas where I didn't like the way they did weak passwords. So here it's typical weak passwords, reused passwords, but when you go over to reused passwords, take a look. They group them. They actually group them together so that you can change them if you need to. So the password's 12345. Now, the one thing they don't do, as you can see, is I can't click here and change it. I have to go into the app, into the password sections, and select them here to go change it. So that is, so they excelled in one area, but then failed in the other. Because everybody else is letting you, they show you ones that are reused passwords, but they don't group them, so you don't know which ones are combined to be reused. But in here, and they all give you the ability to change it, but when you click this change password, it's actually not opening the link, the thing inside of it. It's actually opening up a link to the third-party website. So when I clicked it here, it's actually opening up the link on my second monitor to a totally different site, the Paylocity website. So I would say 50-50. We got one side, we got what we wanted, the other side we didn't. So weak passwords, just like everybody else, they show you which ones are weak passwords, but it's the same exact weakness here. They're not allowing you to change it here. So if you've got like 50 items in here, which is possible, if you're importing your passwords from another third-party application, you're going to have a lot of them in here. It's quite difficult to kind of go here, change, go back over here, go back, and constantly go back and forth. So to NordPass, two things, and it's the same thing for both. Give me the ability to change it here so that I can fix the password and make it not as weak as it used to be. And then for reuse passwords, not only do the same thing, but I'm going to recommend the same thing that I recommended to everybody else. Add a refresh button here. If you give me the ability to change my password here, don't refresh this list. Because if I've got both of these items using the same password, if I change one, I may want to change the second one too, for various reasons. It could be it's a weak password. It could be that maybe I just want to change them, or maybe that password itself got compromised. So if I change one and then this disappears, I now have to go either take notes down before I changed it, or I have to now go over to the password section and find it and remember which one it is to go change it manually. So give me the ability to do that and put a little refresh button here. And then this would be perfect. This would cover what most people need on a day-to-day basis. So now with that covered, let's go over to the password section. So we've covered pretty much everything here. And I know I'm going quite fast, but NordPass is quite a simple application. So go to the password section. Organizing. I mentioned in other videos, I personally like subfolders, not just main folders, but I like subfolders. I like to keep my stuff organized. I have a lot of passwords and logins for a lot of different websites. And having one level of folders is not enough. This thing, when I as a test, I did an import. I had a whole bunch in here, and I had to scroll up and down because there was so many of them in there. And it turned all of my subfolders into all main folders. So again, NordPass adds subfolders ability. The other thing is that they do not support two-factor authentication. So if you go and you edit this, there is no way to add two-factor authentication. They do not support it. Their login, the NordPass login, supports two-factor authentication. So if you want to add two-factor authentication for your password manager, you can. But if you are using two-factor authentication for a website that you're managing within the NordPass application, you're going to have to use your cell phone and have an authenticator app because they do not support it. So that's one thing that I was not happy to find out, which I think it's a good feature to have. The other is they do not support multiple websites. And what I mean by this is what you see here, like this is fanatical.com, this website, right? For work reasons, and I can't think of any instances for public use, but it's possible that there are some. But for work reasons, if you have multiple websites, because let's say you have a single sign-on or a domain server or something to that effect, but depending on how you get to your work, um, the system, your machine will think it's a different type of login, but it's really not. It's the same user ID and password. Well, you're going to require multiple entries of website addresses. Now, they allow you to add more than one website in NordPass. The problem is they only use the first one for autofill. So when they go to autofill your user ID and password, they're not using the second, third, and fourth ones. And the system doesn't know to log them in. I've tested it. Could it be I've done something wrong? It's possible. And if you disagree with me, please add it to the notes down below when this gets posted. But I have not been able to get that to work with multiple sites running at the simultaneously. And then custom fields, they do support that. So if we look at the usual one in the videos, the Paylocity, we got the company ID, and I'm about to cover that in a second, and they support that as well. So let's look at Fanatical, and we're doing our usual sign in, and we're getting the little pop-up here, and then NordPass. It should be doing the fill, and it is not. Let's see if I refresh the whole screen. Maybe it's no, it's not autofilling. I'm not sure why. Maybe if we opened it as a new tab, do sign in. There we go. We log in, and there you go. It auto populates it just like everybody else. And then we'll do the typical Paylocity one, with the company ID. And then you see it asks me to log in. I can also do it through here, which just shows me the sites. And then it figured out the company ID and pre-populated it for me. So it does support custom fields. It does support the auto login, as you saw. So it pretty much covers the main thing, that most people will use. So, and overall, I think NordPass is pretty good. I would say some negative dings is the subfolders. I really wish they supported that. The two-factor authentication, I wish they would support that. The pricing is kind of questionable. What I'm not sure about, and it's not clear, is that if these prices are only for new customers. I hope that they're not. I hope they are for existing customers as well, so everybody pays the same price. I always hate that, new customer versus old customer, and old customers get penalized when new customers get the rewards. I always thought it should be the other way around. New customers, existing customers should be getting the rewards because they're staying and renewing. So overall, I think I really do like it. I did look at it quite heavily for a couple of days. I just wish they had subfolders. I wish they had two-factor authentication. The interface, it's not as easy as some of the other ones. Like, you can't drag and drop folders and stuff, obviously, because you can't create folders, but I can't really drag this. I can't drag it into a separate folder. If you needed to move stuff, you have to go in here and edit. And where is it? You have to change the folder right here. You can add a new folder stuff. So the other thing I would tell NordPass is to work on your interface a bit, to make it more kind of Windows based, make it easier to use it as a mouse, dragging and dropping, more intuitive. So if people using Windows are used to this kind of a feature, then you need to add it into the app, giving it then it becomes sort of second nature to the person on how to use the app rather than having to learn how to use the app. It does not support direct linking to Android apps. I haven't seen anything. I did some quick searches and I couldn't find a way to actually link directly. However, in the mobile app, my understanding is that it will sort of auto link for you. And then if it sees it and it recognizes it and then it can attach it to one of your accounts, you say yes and it'll start linking itself, but there's no way for you to manually link it. And I think that's about it. I can't really say anything else about them. So, I think that's it for this review. Enjoy. Hey everybody, now on to the conclusion. So here on the left part of the screen, you'll see my ratings for each one of the password managers that I've reviewed. And as you already see, with 1Password, I put a question mark there. As I mentioned in the intro, I really tried to test them, get in there, but I'm not going to give them my credit card and for a 14-day trial where I don't even know if I really want their product. And as I mentioned, in the price varies by link you click, so I'm not particularly happy about that. It's just one of those things. I hate CCleaner. I mentioned in the intro, I hate having to do my annual shopping for it. It stinks that I have to spend an hour or two trying to find the software, and the price varies. If you don't look, I've seen CCleaner, the 1 or 2 year license be like $80, $90, but then if you dig far enough, you'll get the same package or a better package for $20. So, it is worth the time, but I really shouldn't have to do that. No, I don't think CCleaner is going to be watching this video, but anyways. So let's go over each and why they got it. So Keeper, I gave them a B-. I've been using them for 2 years, so I have a pretty strong idea on what I was using it for. And again, these videos are just covering about what 80 to 90% of the people are using. They all have their own unique features that makes them stick out and unique, but most of those features are only going to cover about 10 to 20% of their customers. So my goal here was just to cover your average John Doe who is either using their PC for casual use or even gaming use, whatever, and then maybe even working from home. So as you saw from the videos I covered, I think what those people are using on most of the time. So the reasons and Keeper, some of the things that stick out, highlights, as you see up top, dark mode. I really wish they had dark mode. I mentioned my eyesight and my left eye, how a light reflects and stuff. So dark mode to me is very, very important. For some people, it is not. Price is very high for existing customers. There's no way around this. You'll get the intro for 50% off, and then you're basically, after that, you're going to be paying an arm and a leg. And if you want just the password stuff, that's $35. But if you want the reports and the breach watch and everything, you're now looking at basically $55 a year, which compared to their competitors, that's a high price tag. It's like more than half, or in some cases, than their competitors' prices. So I just think that it's just questionable. And like I meant, I compared them to sort of Comcast and Verizon doing this thing where you're sort of switching year by year. Now, I will say I did test the export and import utilities between Keeper, Bitwarden, NordPass. I did migrate my stuff around to see how it works. Moving the passwords and the logins all worked fine. They started having difficulties detecting subfolders. So like if I moved from Keeper to Bitwarden, it couldn't really do the subfolder thing because I had a lot of subfolders in Keeper. It couldn't figure it all out. Two-factor authentication doesn't really convert well from one to the other. In fact, I don't think it did at all. So I think it's mainly focused on like custom fields and then login and password. I think most of the other stuff isn't going to convert easily. So just be in mind that like Comcast, you're switching from Comcast to Verizon, you just have the tech come out, unplug one, and then plug it in the other, and then they change the boxes or whatever you're using in your house, and then you're up and running, and then you got your channels. This is not that easy. In fact, in the Comcast Verizon thing, that's somebody else doing all the work, not you, where in this case, you have to do all the work. You're moving it, and then you have to manually check all of your accounts. So trying to pick your password manager the one that's really going to stick out with you so you don't have a headache for many years down the line, I think is very important, because it's kind of stressful if you got 100 accounts and you're trying to move through them from one company to another, and you got to go through all and make sure they converted it properly. So it does about 80% of the job. Let's put it that way. On all three of them, they all three had similar issues. So they're close, but not perfect. But the one thing that I will say about Keeper that really sticks out is that interface. I really love their interface, and I think other reviewers who covered it on YouTube say the same thing. It's very intuitive. They've gone way out of their way to try to make you feel like you're inside of a regular Windows application. And there's no difference between the browser version of Thick Client, which is an A+, and the browser's independent. So like in Bitwarden, the Thick Client and the browser version are different. And the browser version is the one with all the reports and has all the special stuff. And in NordPass, they say they have a browser version, but they really don't, because you have the Thick Client that requires to be installed. And then when you say you want the browser version, it's really opening up the Thick Client inside of your browser. So without having it installed, it won't work. It's going to tell you to download it and install it. So you can't, it's not independent. You have to have the Thick Client installed on Windows if you're using NordPass. So, but again, interface very smooth. So now let's move on to Bitwarden. Bitwarden, right up there. So interface, complex. I covered the things so that you can do what 80 to 90% of the people say or need. And in my reviews, I did cover them and exactly the commands and how to get all the stuff. So hopefully I made it easier so it's not as complex. If I had to choose between losing, let me go this way, between losing all of the extreme customizable features or make it less complex, I want all the customizable features. If they can give me both, that's great. Maybe even just instead of saying a website link, and then you have to type the Android app, give me an option that says Android app. And then this way I don't have to remember that whole front part of Android. Add another custom field, just call it Android app, something like that, instead of website. That'll take some of the complexity out. Maybe even having the ability to just say, to provide you the link. So you can say, you click the Android app and then you give them an option saying, give me the URL to the Google site, the Google Play Store. So you copy the URL, you put it in there, and then you automatically, you can figure it out. It's in the URL as you designed it. So there is ways for you to make that less complex. And I honestly will stress to you, your product is really close to being almost perfect in features. If you worked on the interface, it would be number one in the market. I don't think anybody can touch it when it comes to meeting 80 to 90% of the resources out there of what your average consumer will need. So you're closer to that, I would say, that goal than any of your other competitors, which is one of the reasons why I switched them. As everybody can tell, I chose Bitwarden as my final selection option because it's so extremely customizable. And I did pay the $10. So now moving on to NordPass. Again, as I mentioned in the review, excellent reports. And I like that the way the reused passwords, they combined them into one. And the reports, when you ask to look at certain information, they'll give you the details of what was compromised and things like that. Very, very unique. But it's hard to change the data. It was like right here, I'm giving you the uniqueness of what nobody else is giving you, and then on the other hand, they're saying, I'm going to make it hard for you to change it. It's like, wait a minute, you're supposed to make my life easier. So take some of the clues from Bitwarden and update your reports, so your functionality, so that users can just literally click and update their passwords right there, and then they can go to their website on a separate interface, enter, change their password, and then add it into NordPass. But they can just go right down the list instead of having to dig and dig and dig. Because what happens is, if I've got 3 reused passwords or 2 reused passwords, and then I have to now go to the password list and then find that guy, just so I can change it. When I come back to reuse passwords, it's not going to show it anymore. And what if I wanted to change the second one? Because what if that password itself was compromised? Now I don't know what the second one is unless I physically went to Notepad and typed it out so that I can remember it, or I have a photographic memory, which I don't. So you're close. You're close. I think some refinement again on the interface. A lot of I'd say in all three of these, Keeper, Bitwarden, and NordPass, security-wise, they're almost identical. They're almost identical, except for NordPass not supporting two-factor authentication, which I think is really huge. If you're a consumer that does not require it and is kind of shy away from it, and none of your sites require you to use it, and you, even if they had it, you don't want to use it, then NordPass is an option for you. But if you do need two-factor authentication, like I mentioned in the videos, there are good reasons to take that whole string and not just scan in the code. And I've given ways to put it in both Keeper and in Bitwarden. Unfortunately, NordPass, you can save the string, but it won't generate the code for you. So you're then stuck with just the Microsoft app as your primary thing. And if your phone is stolen or lost, you're screwed. You'd have to basically kind of get a new phone, set it all up, put the Authenticator app back on there, and then have Microsoft give you back all of your codes. But until you do that, you can't get into anything. So at least by doing what I'm saying in both Bitwarden and Keeper, you're doing it in both. If you lose your phone, you can still get into your stuff. So you're safe. NordPass, their pricing is not very, very clear. As I mentioned before, through the whole thing, they give that whole 3 extra months. It's not 3 extra months. They let you believe that they're free, and they're not. So as we did the mathematical calculator out there for you, you're paying for those 3 extra months. So it's technically 2 years, 3 months. Just get rid of that, NordPass. It's unethical in my opinion. Again, it's my opinion, not a fact. And I have a feeling a lot of people will agree with me. It's kind of unethical. Just get rid of it. Just straight up give them 2 years. You have a product. It's not like you're trying to scam people, because you're not. You're not. It's, so just stick to your product. You have a good name in the business. NordVPN, everybody's heard of it, very popular. I know I have a lot of my friends that use it. Just use your name and then just go from there. There is no reason to do this with the 3 extra months. But your interface, the last option, interface needs a lot of help. The fact that you're missing some of the customizable features, as I mentioned in the other two, dragging and dropping, no folders, no two-factor authentication. You got to spend some time on working on that. You're basically losing a good chunk of the market. So just fix that, and then we're all good. And like I said, 1Password, as I mentioned in the link in the beginning. And here I'll do it this way too, so you can read the whole thing. I'm not going to give you my credit card, and I don't like that I have to dig for the right price to get it. So I never even bothered doing a review, even though I really, really wanted to. So I hope for everybody who's watching this will help you figure out which product you want. Like I said, Keeper, Bitwarden, NordPass, they're all good. I mean, they're all legit. They're all good. There's nothing wrong with them. They all have their pros and cons and uniqueness. So you kind of have to dig. But I hope that this video covers the main things on what your average person will do and what you need and how to do them. Because that was the one thing that I could not find in any of the videos, was how to really do this stuff. Most of the videos were just like, oh, they cover one thing and they do like a zoom in and they just type and they just kind of say sales pitches, and they're trying to keep it to like 2 or 3 minutes. As you can tell from my videos, each section is like 30 minutes long. So I'm really trying to give you the information you need. So again, till next video, and thank you for watching.